The command deck of the Zephralian warship Dominance hummed with the energy of 1,000 conquered worlds. Hazel stood in the center of the obsidian floor, her worn combat boots somehow defiant against the polished alien metal. Around her, holographic displays flickered with star maps showing the Zephralian Empire's richer crimson stain spreading across 3 galactic arms. Warlord Kazruth towered before her, his forearms crossed in a gesture that had made entire species surrender before a single shot was fired. His chitinous exoskeleton gleamed like black oil, and his compound eyes reflected Hazel's small human form 1,000 times over. You understand the position of your species, human. His voice rumbled through the translation matrix, each word carrying the weight of assumed authority. Earth stands at the precipice, your military scattered, your cities vulnerable. I offer you what I have offered 547 species before yours. Submit, and your people will live as subjects. Refuse, and they will live as examples. Hazel's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Her green eyes, the color of Earth's forgotten forests, met his without flinching. And I'm supposed to speak for all of humanity. Interesting choice. You commanded the resistance fleet at Proxima. You orchestrated the evacuation of the Mars colonies. Your species looks to you for leadership. Kazruth descended the 3 steps from his command throne, each footfall echoing like a death knell. So yes, human, you will speak for your species. You will kneel. You will broadcast surrender. Or I will demonstrate why the Zephralian Empire has never known defeat. The other humans on the deck, captives brought to witness this moment, stood with their hands bound. Among them, Theodore caught Hazel's eye, her second in command, her closest friend, the tactical genius who had helped her outsmart Zephralian forces for 3 years. His jaw was set, his dark eyes burning with barely contained rage. A fresh bruise colored his cheek where a Zephralian soldier had struck him for speaking out of turn. Hazel's fingers flexed at her sides. They'd taken her weapons, of course. Searched her 3 times, but they'd made the same mistake every overwhelming force made when confronting humanity. They'd assumed they understood what made humans dangerous. You want to know something funny? Hazel said, her voice quiet enough that Kazruth leaned forward to hear. About humans. Humor me before I lose patience. We're not impressive, not really. We're not the strongest I've seen. Your soldiers lift 3 tons. We're not the fastest or ships cross light years while we still struggle with our own solar system. We don't have natural armor, we don't have telepathy, we don't regenerate. She took a step forward. But we have something you've never bothered to understand in your 547 conquests. And what Kazruth's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement, is that, we're stubborn. Hazel moved, not toward Kazruth but laterally, her hand snapping out to grab a ceremonial weapon from a display mount. The Zephralian guards reacted, but human reflexes evolved from prey. Animals that learned to hunt proved faster than creatures who'd never known fear. The weapon hummed to life. Hazel didn't aim it at Kazruth. Instead, she brought it down on the control console beside her. Sparks erupted. Alarms shrieked. The holographic displays showing the Empire's conquered territories flickered and died. Theodore moved simultaneously. Despite his bonds, he dropped to the floor, sweeping the legs of the nearest guard, creating chaos in the split second Hazel's action had bought them. You see, Hazel said, her voice rising above the chaos, you studied our military, you calculated our weapons, you measured our ships, but you never bothered to understand our history. She dodged a guard's grasp, using her smaller size as an advantage in the confined space. Every empire that ever underestimated human desperation has fallen. Every tyrant who assumed submission was inevitable discovered that humans have this annoying tendency to break rather than bend. Kazruth roared, a sound that would have sent his own species fleeing. Hazel didn't flinch. She'd heard worse on the front lines of Proxima. You're destroying yourself. The Warlord bellowed. This changes nothing. I still have the power to annihilate your world, and we still have the power to make sure you never enjoy it. Hazel's smile was razor sharp now. While you've been monologuing, Theodore's been counting. 47 seconds since I hit that console. That's how long it takes for an overloaded Zephralian power matrix to cascade through auxiliary systems. Ruth's eyes widened, all 1,000 facets reflecting sudden understanding. Your ship's about to experience what we call a critical existence failure. Hazel continued. And your fleet, they're close enough to be caught in the blast radius. See, humans are good at one thing above all others. We're really good at losing in ways that make winning worthless for you. Theodore had freed himself and 2 other prisoners. They'd moved to strategic positions. using their knowledge of Zephralian ship layouts gained through 3 years of desperate combat to maximum effect. You'll die too, Kazruth said. But his voice held something it hadn't before, uncertainty. Maybe. Hazel's voice was steady. But I'm betting on something else. I'm betting that you value your life more than your pride. I'm betting that an empire built on intimidation can't survive a warlord who became a cautionary tale about underestimating humans. The ship shuddered. Emergency systems screamed. So here's my counteroffer, Hazel said. And now her voice carried the weight of every human who'd ever refused to bow. You take your fleet, you go back to your empire, and you tell them Earth is off the menu. Not because we're strong, not because we're advanced, but because we're the species that will burn everything down rather than live on our knees. Kazruth stared at her for a long moment. Around them, his ship was dying by human design. His guards looked to him for orders. The balance of power had shifted in a way that no tactical simulation had predicted. You're insane, he said. No, Hazel replied, and her whisper carried across the command deck. We're human, and we've been underestimated before. The warlord's mandibles clicked once, twice. Then he gestured to his guards. Take us to the escape vessels now. As the Zephralian forces evacuated, Theodore moved to Hazel's side. You're bluffing about the cascade, aren't you? 70% bluffing, she admitted with a grin. But I did rig their power core to overload. We've got maybe 10 minutes before this ship becomes a very expensive firework. They ran toward the human holding cells, gathering their people. Behind them, the Zephralian flagship began its death throes. Above Earth, the invasion fleet watched their command ship evacuate, their warlord retreating from a species that refused to understand defeat. Later, as Earth's makeshift defense forces watched the Zephralian armada jump to hyperspace fleeing rather than conquering, Theodore asked the question everyone was thinking. What happens when they come back? Better prepared. Hazel looked up at the stars, her expression fierce and hopeful in equal measure. Then we'll remind them again, and however many times it takes. Because that's what humans do. We don't submit, we don't surrender. We adapt, we survive, and we make sure everyone in the galaxy knows. Forcing us is never worth the cost. And across the galaxy, in whispered conversations between species wondering if rebellion was possible, a new story began to spread. The story of Earth, the story of Hazel, the story of a species that chose defiance over survival, and somehow achieved both.